Hey folks, Country Prepper here. Well, I'm out in the garage making sheaths and sharpening up some knives on the power strop here, and was watching a couple of videos while I was pressing some sheaths, things like that, and I noticed a lot of reviewers, some of them don't know all the terms to knives, and a lot of people, I'm sure, that watch these reviews probably don't understand all the parts of the knives either. So what I wanted to do today was go through some of the more common ones, things that different parts of the knives, different grinds, different materials, some things like that. So to give you guys a better understanding when you're watching a knife review, it gives you a better idea of how to pick the best knife for you. The first thing I want to go over is different knife grinds, and I have a bunch of knives here to give you examples of them. The first one I want to talk about is the convex edge, and I printed this out so you guys could actually see what these profiles look like without having to try and look down the center of a knife on video. So first one, convex. So for the best example that I have is my Condor Critalis, and you can see I got a nice polished edge on there now. So what that is, and you can see it is straight up and down on each side, and then it just basically has a round bevel to it. So this is a very utility edge, very tough edge. It does not round very easy. It does not chip easy. It doesn't do any tasks particularly well, but it is probably the best suited for chopping because that, abrupt force is not going to damage your edge nearly as easy. So that's the first grind I'm going to talk about. The saber grind is next. Now, as you can see, it comes down flat both sides, and then it comes in at an angle, and then it has a secondary bevel on it. And for an example on that is the SCHF 9. Need to clean that one off. But this has a recurve, but as you can see, it's flat here, 90 degrees down here, and then has this bevel, and then that edge where the shine is right there, that is a secondary bevel. What a secondary bevel means is that it has a different angle than the primary grind. So it'll have two different angles on a saber grind. So, and most knives are that way. Next one on the list, hollow grind. Now, as you can see, that comes down. This is my least favorite grind, to be honest, because it is so thin. And it does have a secondary bevel on it, which makes it good for just about everything you can put it through. It does chop well, it can carve, and you can get some finer stuff out of it, but it just doesn't do them particularly well, in my opinion. And this is most common on trade knives, from what most of you probably already know. The hollow grind, as you saw in my SCHF 52 video, it did all the tasks that I put it through, but it didn't do any of them particularly well. So I consider this another good utility edge. This is great for taking camping, doing things like that, but if you are actually out in the woods, it does make for something I would consider for a good survival knife, because it does do all the tasks that you put it through. And it doesn't, I don't know how to explain it, but it is more prone, honestly, to chipping, rolling, all things like that, because it is just so thin at the edge right there. So that is why I don't particularly like a hollow grind. In my opinion, the best grind for a survival knife is a saber grind. But that's just my opinion. Take it or leave it. Next on the list, Scandi grind. And I think most of us are familiar with the Scandi grind. It is on pretty much every Mora. This is the Mora Companion. And what that is, this is a zero bevel grind. And what that means is there is no secondary bevel. It does not have a secondary angle to the grind. It is absolutely 2-0. So when the angle starts, that is what the actual edge is, if you can see that. And I just bumped the camera. But see how this one has a secondary bevel, that has a secondary bevel, this does not. So that is a really great knife for carving, and it'll handle just about every bushcraft task you want to put it through. So that is probably why Mora chooses to use a Scandi grind on theirs. And then also the Condor bush lore, really big favorite amongst bushcrafters, especially the ones on a budget. It's a really great option. So Scandi grind, I wouldn't particularly, that could be a companion knife for a survival situation. If you're going to put it in like your survival kits or bug out bags, things like that, it would be a good secondary knife to a much larger knife with a different grind on it, something a lot tougher. So that's that. Like I said, all these things that I'm saying, other than the facts about the grinds, are all my opinion. So take it or leave it. Next, the full flat grind. And again, most of the time, now it doesn't really give a good representation of a full flat grind because it's not this picture is just a little bit off. It's not symmetrical. It shows that it's actually flat on one edge of the knife, which is not true. For the most part, not true. Some makers might do it that way. I have yet to see a full flat grind that is actually 90 degrees on one side and then has a bevel on the other. But a good example of that is the BK16. Full flat grind goes from top to bottom in one big V. So that is also another zero grind bevel. So I'll show you that again. No secondary bevel, usually. Some do. This one in particular, this full flat grind on the BK16 does have a micro bevel. Secondary bevel, micro bevel, same thing. So what do we got left here? Okay. Chisel grind. As you can see, that is 90 degrees on one side, straight down from the spine, and then just one bevel on it. The only example that I have of that is this little knife that I got from Flint and Steel Survival. Wanted it in one of his giveaways, and that is this little pig sticker that came from Dark Wolf Knives. Jake Parker. There's his initials there. But as you can see, I don't know if you'll be able to see that in this little thing or not. Really hard to see, really small knife. So, but basically, it's flat on one side, has a grind on the other. Usually comes down to a zero grind as well. So no secondary bevel for the most part. And then, I already talked about this one, but the full flat with secondary bevel. So you have a full flat with a zero grind, and you also have a full flat with a secondary bevel. I don't have a full flat with a zero grind. So that's just, it's not much different. It's still a V, one angle from the spine to the edge. The only difference is you either have a micro bevel or you don't. So that is everything about the different grinds of a knife. Okay, so time for some tips, knife tips. The tip of the knife, I mean. I'm going to start off with the clip point, and the only example I have of that is my big Bowie machete. And most Bowie knives or Bowie knives are going to have, well, I mean, that's part of that knife is a clip point. But as you can see, it comes straight across and then dips down, and some of them have this top swedge. That's what that's called. It's a swedge Some of them are sharpened, some of them are not, most of them are not. I actually have this one sharpened because I wanted it that way. The reason behind that knife style, tip style, is makes it good for stabbing, combat knife. So that's what a lot of, I don't know how to say that, a lot of your old trapping knives, things like that, old hunting knives had a clip point to them just in case they had to stab something with it. Next off is it's just a flat point, which means the whole top of the knife is flat. It does not drop at all. So that's a pretty easy one. And I mean, this one has this little ridge right here, but as far as the tip goes, it comes clear out to a flat point. Drop point, and I've got a couple different examples here. The BK16 and the SEHF 42, they both have a clip point. And what that basically shows is, drop point. I said clip point. Drop point, as you can see, it just drops off a little bit. This is honestly, in my opinion, that is the strongest point to have, strongest tip to have. It is very thick at the tip, as to where, obviously, that is not very thick. So, but also, I mean, the flat tip is very, very stout too. So, toss up between those two. I prefer the drop point just because it allows you to, you can make a divot with it for a bow drill if you had to, things like that. It's just a little bit sharper of a point, but it's just pretty much as strong as the flat tip. And then last but not least, spear point. A lot of knives, like your, Ontario Blackbird SK5 survival knife, that has a spear point. Your Kephart style knives, that's actually a spear point. And then this Bush Lore has a spear point. And all that is basically rounds up to a point even on both sides. So there's your different knife tips. Okay, a few other things. Spine and thumb ramp. A lot of people will confuse this. Not all knives have a thumb ramp. That is a thumb ramp. It goes up like a ramp. That's just a spine. There's jimping on both of them, but that's just a spine. The spine of the knife is the back of the knife. No thumb ramp on that one. That is a thumb ramp. So that's just to kind of give you guys an idea. The pommel. The pommel is the back of the knife that sticks out. This is an exposed pommel. This is also partially exposed pommel. This is not an exposed pommel. It is full tang. Well, I guess I should say all full tangs are exposed pommels, but it is not a extended pommel like those have. Extended pommel where it sticks out from the handle scales. And a lot of times that will be on there, like with these, both have the lanyard hole in the back there. So that's just another thing to keep in mind. Jimping. Let me grab a different knife for that one. Okay, so this knife, along with its big brother, this is the SCHF 36 and 37. Both had the same handles. 38 as well also had this handle. This was notorious for overly aggressive jimping and way too much jimping, in my opinion. That is jimping. That is also jimping. Jimping on the thumb ramp for Sean. And the reason for this is so that your thumb doesn't slide when you're really burying into something, trying to carve or something like that. Jimping is, in my opinion, is not really necessary. I get along really great with this knife, and it doesn't have a spot of jimping anywhere on it. So, In my opinion, it's unnecessary. Now, if your hands are wet, jimping might be a good thing. However, if you have micarta handle scales, your hand doesn't slip on micarta. They actually get stickier when they're wet. So, but as far as having your thumb up there, even with wet hands, I have never really had my thumb slip that much, even when I'm really bearing into something. So, I think it's unnecessary. Some people do like it, but a lot of times it is overly aggressive. Now, this on the BK16 here, that's not aggressive. That's actually very comfortable jimping, and I don't mind it at all on this knife. So, especially for a carving knife. So, or a slicing knife. Okay, so just really quick about a few different kinds of steel. Obviously, you have stainless steel. There are a ton of different kinds of stainless steel. Some of the most popular ones are like Schrade uses. A lot of different companies use Kershaw. Just tons of different companies use 8CR13 MOV. There are different variations of that. There is 9CR 17 or 18 MOV, 3CR 13 MOV. There's just a ton of different variations of that. I'm not going to go too in-depth with that on this video. The main thing you need to know is look up those numbers if you're looking into a knife. If those numbers, the lower those numbers are, it changes the composition quite a bit. So 8CR 13 MOV, 9CR 18 are both pretty good. As far as Moras, a few Moras have stainless steel. This is the 546, my stepson's little companion knife, his first knife. But that one's made out of stainless steel. Stainless in a fixed blade, unless you live near salt water or you just don't want to take care of your knives. That's about the only thing they're really good for. If hunting knives are good for stainless. Buck uses a 420 HC, and they are probably the best at 420. Probably the only knife maker that I will buy 420 stainless from. I have a couple, 3 of their knives now. So 440C stainless is also a decent stainless steel, but it's not real tough. It doesn't hold an edge for a real long time, but it's not terribly hard to sharpen either. So something else you got to keep in mind when looking at stainless steels. Look at their carbon composition. You can find this kind of stuff on Google, knife forums, all kinds of different places. That's where I learned most of this stuff. Look at the carbon composition to know how well the edge retention is going to hold up. So there are a bunch of like super steel stainlesses out there, and I don't really know them because I'm just not a big fan of stainless steel. But for certain things, it is good for food prep, and if you live near salt water or just in a really humid climate, knives will rust 90 mile an hour, so stainless is probably the way to go. As far as carbon steels go, now there are the higher end O1, D2, and all kinds of different carbon steels, but I'm going to talk about the most typical ones that people like me and most of my viewers would buy. Start off with 1055. Cold Steel uses 1055 on everything from their machetes to their regular knives to their axes. 1055 carbon steel, which is a pretty decent steel. It's quite a bit softer than 1075 or 1095 or 1070, or there's a lot of variations in between 1055 and 1095, but most common are 1055, 1070, 1075. There is a 1085, but it's very rarely used as far as I know. And then 1095 is the most popular. Why is 1095 the most popular? Because it holds an edge really well. It takes an edge really well. You can actually, it's easy enough to sharpen that if you found a nice smooth flat rock in a riverbed somewhere, you could sharpen your knife with it if you were in a survival situation. So, but Condor, they make their knives out of 1075, and Trade and so many other companies 1095, 1095 Crovan. The difference between those is the heat treat, and that's the reason why Becker knives are so popular. That Crovan heat treat 1095 Crovan is awesome. That's about all I can really say about it. It holds an edge really great, and from what I've learned so far, just from having this BK16, and then my BK11 is too. But I also have a BK7 on the way. Should be here tomorrow, I think. So you'll be seeing that in a video coming up. But one last little tip, and this goes along with kydex sheaths. Something that I want to show you guys. A Ricasso, I believe it's called. Rakosa, I think it's Ricasso. But anyhow, if you're having trouble getting your knife in and out of the sheath, and it's dragging, usually it drags on the Rakosa, or Ricasso. And that is this right here, on like the 36, 37, 38, 51, 52. It's on the back side of this finger choil here. That is because of that. See that sharp point right there? That will catch something terrible in a kydex sheath. So, two things you can do to alleviate that. Oil your knife. That's the first step. Oil your knife. It's most likely going to be a carbon steel knife, so you need to oil it anyhow. But if that doesn't work, if it's still not smooth enough pulling out for you, then take a file. And I've already done this on my 42 and 42D, and I've done it on all of my Schrade knives. Anything that has a really sharp point like that, I don't know if you'll be able to, yeah, you can kind of see that in the camera. I just bump those with a file and a piece of sandpaper real quick, just so that when I'm making a sheath, so that it doesn't cut it coming in and out. And that is something that I need to warn all of my customers of, just so they know that if it's catching, those are the two steps you want to take. First, oil it. Oil your knife. If it's sliding in and out hard at all, if it's catching at all, oil it. What I use here in the shop, I use that because it dries. And it doesn't leave your knife sticky, leaves everything nice and smooth and slick, and it works really well. And you don't want to use this if you're going to use your knife for food prep, but for anything else, it works great. It's rust resistant and water resistant. I have not had a blade get even a spot of rust on it since I started using this stuff, so it works really, really well. You can find this in the tool aisle at Walmart. So it's a little higher than regular WD-40, but I think it's worth it because it doesn't leave. It leaves a little bit of a residue, and that's a good thing when it comes to a knife because you want it to stay there and keep protecting. Once oil gets wiped off, it's pretty much, you just got to put more on. So this will leave a residue, and it'll last a lot longer. So that's why I use that. So I know this has been a very long video, but it's a lot of information to try to get across. And I know chatter me. So I'm going to leave it at that. If you guys have any questions, feel free to send me a message here on YouTube, on Facebook, Twitter. I'm on Instagram as well now. So you can send me a message anywhere, or you can send me an email at mail@countryprepper.com. So that's it for today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. And if you made it this far, I have something very special for you guys in the next couple days. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.